One awesome thing Nerf has done over the years is make popular the use of detachable box or drum magazines, and these are really important when it comes to this hobby. Basically everybody who Nerfs has at least a dozen of these or wants a dozen of them. And every single time you buy a blaster that uses these, well, you get a magazine or a drum with it. And that's really freaking important, because that's how you hold your darts, and that's how you load your darts into your blaster and fire them. Of course, this is not only paralleled by real steel firearms, but also in some hobbies like airsoft and even some paintball markers. And it's really easy to see how important this is. I mean, you fill it up with darts, you shoot all your darts, you remove it from your blaster, you put it aside, you grab a fresh one, you shove it in, and suddenly you've got a whole bunch more darts to shoot. But this isn't the only way things are done. Take the Quick 16 from the dart tag line. It's got a magazine on it that's kind of built into the gun, and it looks amazing. But it's got this door at the top of it, and the door is there, so you take your dart and you put it in the door, and you just kind of set it in there. And then when you prime the blaster, this door shoots out, and then you close it, and the dart's magically gone because it's loaded in the chamber. When you pull the trigger, you get your dart. And then sometimes you have cylinders like what we have with the Boomco Spinsanity 3X here. Now, generally cylinders are on like revolvers and you just slide a dart down the front of it, and these ones allow you to put a dart in from pretty much any angle. But the same concept applies, it's a cylinder, and with the Boomco Spinsanity 3X, you fire off all your darts, and then once that cylinder's empty, you prime it, and then the next cylinder's in there, and then of course your old cylinder is right here and you have another one waiting. Now, that seems a little awkward. Why would you want something like this ever? The obvious reason is because out of the box this thing holds 30 darts, which is a lot. Yes, you can get Nerf drums and sometimes they're reliable and you can hold up to 35 darts. But most of the time people are just running these 18 round stick mags because they're convenient and they're cheap and, well, they work really, really well and they're not too big so you can have a lot on you at once. Something like this seems a little weird to them. They don't quite understand why I would rock something like this, and the easy reason for that is magazines aren't always the best option. They are incredibly useful, but they're not always the best option, and having different blasters that load in different ways and hold darts in different ways can be very useful into whatever group you're playing with, or even if you're just playing by yourself in a free-for-all. Let's start with the Nerf drums or magazines. These things, you just fire off all your darts, and when you're empty, you pitch it, you grab a fresh magazine, and you slam it right in, and you're good to go to keep firing. Obviously very, very intuitive, but let's say you're playing against a group of people in like a free-for-all or a team game or something like that. You're firing darts left and right, and let's say you get tag out with this 25 round drum. Let's say I tagged out all of my enemies, and I still have like 7 or 8 darts left in the magazine. Well, it took me obviously more darts than that in order to tag them out, or even tag one person depending on, you know, how the wind is blowing and how my darts feel that day. But what am I going to do? I still have darts left in here. Am I going to get into another engagement and fire off the rest of my darts and then switch? Well, then I'm leaving myself wide open when I potentially have a risk coming straight at me. Or, more likely, is I'm going to look at my drum and go, oh, there's only a couple of darts left in there. I'm going to take it out, I'm going to fill up a new mag, and then probably fill this thing back up later. And that's kind of a problem, because then I have a magazine sitting there with just a couple of darts. And let's say I'm in a very long engagement, I've burned through all of my magazines. Well, I'm going to have probably a couple that are just filled with a couple of darts. And suddenly I become very judicial with my shots, and I'm very careful with how I fire, because I know I only got like 6 or 7 when, you know, just moments earlier I was spraying darts like mad. Now there is one way to combat this, and that's with the kind of jungle flip clip thing. You basically take 2 magazines and you tape them or glue them together, or you buy the modulus flip clip system, or even the old N-Strike one, which is the little attachment that clipped onto the bottom that you can clip 2 magazines to that made them unnecessarily long. That does work, and it can be kind of comfortable. It is longer, of course, but if you do it right, it's not a big deal. In fact, you can basically make it like this and not have any issues. And that allows you to do a couple of things. One, instead of having to reach down and fumble for a new magazine in your gear, you just take it out, flip it around, and put the new one in. But the other reasoning for that is now you have an empty magazine after you've reloaded once that you can easily just start loading darts into. It's not as intuitive as something like the Quick 16, but it can be done. The only real issue with that is that you have to obviously have this, probably multiples of them, and empty one of the magazines before you can even start doing this. Not impossible, but definitely kind of a bandage for a fix that needs a lot more attention. Now let's look at the Quick 16, assuming this thing could hit the same performance as the other ones, and trust me, I'm working on it, that's why it's here. But let's say I needed to tag somebody out, just one person, and I had 16 or 18 darts to do it, depending on what I have shoved in here. Well, it's really easy for me to slam fire my way through them. Let's say I got them out in 6 or 7 darts, which is a lot of darts to fire at somebody when I only need 1 to tag them. 6 or 7 darts, it's just 6, 7, 8, clamp it back up, we're good to go. No problems whatsoever. And even if it was dead empty, let's say I emptied the entire thing and didn't tag out my target, well, instead of going, oh crap, I need to shove in a new magazine, I can just take a single dart, shove it in there, take a single dart, I can leave it primed and take darts and put them in there, and then if they get too close to me, one shot. Very, very good blaster for something like that, and this is what I'm trying to explain to you in a roundabout way, that something like this is very, very useful. Granted, we don't have one that hits that insane performance mark yet, but stuff like this is really, really useful. That's why I advocate people who carry sidearms or secondaries have a secondary that isn't magazine fed. What exactly is the point of having your Strife on your leg with your Rapid Strike as your primary, and let's say something happens with your Rapid Strike or something, and you can't use it for a second, you drop it, pull out your Strife, and you empty off all your 18 darts or whatever. That's really effective, don't get me wrong. However, let's say you're out of ammo for your primary, and the only thing you have left is your secondary, which uses the same ammo with the same magazines. Kinda cool, it equals together, but then you're never using your secondary until you have a problem with your primary, or you're out of ammo, and then you wind up, you know, using it really effectively for whatever, and then it's useless, and then you're screwed. You're probably gonna have a jolt or something on you at that point. It might not happen all that often, but it can happen, and why risk it? You could just carry something with a rotating cylinder, like a strong arm or a hammer shot, and easily shoot those darts off, and then reload it on the fly and get back into the action. Or you can carry a primary like this, which, yeah, I could be using this all I want, and then have a Strife with just a couple of extra magazines on my legs. As a secondary, well, obviously a Strife would be a little bit different than this thing. It might get a quicker fire rate, or I could use it one-handed if for some reason I had to use that one-handed feature. Spray off a couple of darts, I can reload the magazine if I choose, and I only need to carry like 2 or 3 of them because my main mode of damage is going to be this thing with its internal magazine. This Spinsanity 3X is a kind of a weird blaster because I was gonna do a review on it, but then I spent the entire review talking about one feature I absolutely love, and that's that if I was using this like a Strife, a semi-automatic flywheel blaster, and I'm just shooting off my darts all I want, well, let's say I only used 5 of those darts. Well, I can switch to a freshly 10-round drum and top up those 5 darts I spent right there. And if somebody gets close, it's really easy for me to shoot at them. Go back and then switch, and suddenly, let's say this drum right here was empty and this drum was empty, but the one in the blaster right now is currently full. Well, that's really easy for me because I can be very, very careful about how I use those next 10 shots, but let's say I'm in that fight and I have a second, maybe I'm behind cover, maybe nothing's going on. It's very easy for me to just shove in these 4 darts right here. A little bit difficult, I'm not practicing in any way, but you get the idea, even not practice. There's 4 darts right there, and suddenly, if crap hit the fan, I got those 4 darts, I have a chance. If I had a magazine, I'd be popping, oh god, I gotta fight, and put them back in, and that's not really that intuitive. When something like this, if I were to practice in it, I could get very good. The reason why I bring this up is because many people take the Spinsanity 3X and they just want to replace these things. They want to buy like 6 or 7 of them and just have loads of these around. Which is cool, but you really don't need it. You're kind of missing the point of the blaster there. This is something that if one person in the group you had during HVZ had something like this, well, if everybody has to be out of ammo and everybody's trying to reload their magazines, at least you have one guy that can keep people at bay. He has darts ready, flywheels revving, ready to go, and at the same time, he's reloading his cylinders, getting them ready to fire. So his downtime is far less, and he's far more consistent at fighting than anybody else on the squad. Kind of a big deal now that you think about it. That's not to say something like this isn't incredibly awesome. I mean, obviously I can go from 25 darts to empty to 25 darts in a matter of seconds. At the same time, I'm going to be spending a lot of time before game filling up all of my magazines, or, God help me, my 40-round Boomco clips. These are a little bit different because they are front-loading, so they're really easy to shove lots of darts in there at one time and get it up and running. And heck, even if it's coming out the other end, you could start preemptively filling it back up. There's lots of little tactics you can use, but you're kind of limited with these magazines. They are ubiquitous. Everybody has them. Everybody is running them. But at the same time, it might not be the best option for you, and don't be scared to use something that's not exactly standard. Let's say I was using Boomco darts and I'm playing in a match with a bunch of people using Nerf. Well, as long as I have enough Boomco darts, and hopefully I'm not running like a Rapid Madness with 4 clips or something like that, it's really easy for me to just, like this thing, I said it was my primary, and it pretty much is. Most of the time you see me firing at somebody, this is what I'm going to be using. Now, when situations change, maybe they're within that range of me having to use, something else, because obviously they're going to tag me out if they've got a full auto rapid strike and they're within 60 feet of me. I'm properly screwed, and I have one shot with this. I might not want to take my chances with that. While Boomco darts are accurate, stuff can happen, and that's why you carry a secondary, I don't know, this. I'm not even kidding. Let's say I was using this the entire game, picking people off. I'm barely burning through darts, but I'm securing tags like none other. You get close to me, I just whip this thing off and shoot off my hip and try to just tag you with a dart as much as I can, and then go back to using this thing. Entirely doable. And that's the reason why I make these videos. I'm trying to explain something that you might not have thought of before, that you might not think works, but in reality, it can work really, really well as long as you think about it. Obviously, Nerf is a game, but it's a hobby like none other. If you go to Dart Wars, you spend, $10-15 to have an hour at Dart Wars. Do you want to get tagged out first in every single match and spend the majority of your time sitting on the sidelines? Probably not, and that's why I make these videos. So if you want to see more stuff like this in the future where we talk about Nerf strategies and whatnot, leave a comment down below, like this video, and let me know this is the kind of content you want to see on a regular basis, because I've got a load of it. I've spent a lot of time at Dart Wars. Otherwise, the thumbs down is there, and I'll just keep making stupid videos about, gluing rapid strikes together or something. Who cares? I'm Walcom S7. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in an entirely different one. Maybe next time with a script if I could be asked for it, but I don't even have a freaking printer. I don't write. Who writes anymore? Walcom out.